神羅転生
What's up everybody, it's your boy Hokage here, welcome to the video. Today I'm going to review Boruto episode 146 I believe, and straight away I'm going to say it, I really enjoyed this episode. When you compare this episode to the last couple of episodes of this arc so far, you can clearly see that this episode is different in a way that if you look at the previous episodes, a lot of them had like a let's say like a mini purpose. Every episode had like a purpose to itself, right? Different episodes were supposed to focus on different inmates from Boruto's and Mitsuki's cell. Kamata, Kedama, and Are. Was it Are? I'm sorry, like if I'm wrong, I'm gonna correct myself on the screen while editing the video. Then you had episodes which would focus on the mystery over who attacked Kokuri. You know, overall, when the arc started, the Mujina Bandits were introduced as a threat in that scene where Naruto was talking about the impact that they have in the Land of Fire, the crimes they're committing, and overall, that was a great introduction, by the way. But then you have this episode in which basically, I mean, in the previous episode, we had the plan established, right? The escape plan, and this episode is simply moving from point A to point B, escaping the prison. That's literally, I mean, that's still a purpose. Yeah, that's still a purpose. I'm just saying there's a clear difference between this episode and between the complexity of this episode and the last couple of episodes, okay? That's why perhaps this episode, at least in my opinion, it's not like one of my favorite episodes, but it was actually enjoyable. I liked the pacing of it. I liked all the little details, that the little writing details that were done cleverly in this episode. For instance, Boruto pretty much digging under his bed, and you had Kedama noticing that, and because Kedama noticed that hole, he could escape and actually help Sarada later on. And that's pretty clever. And also, in normal circumstances, Kedama would probably be passive. He probably wouldn't react to this because that's how he was. But this is when I need to mention something that I mentioned in my Boruto episode 145 review, which is a small conversation scene between Mitsuki and Kedama, right? It's not like Mitsuki told him his life story or anything like that, but when Mitsuki got him with like his snake arm things or whatever, he mentioned, you know, he referenced his past, the situation he was once in. You know, he referenced the Mitsuki retrieval arc, and I think that little moment between Mitsuki and Kedama, and especially after that when Mitsuki was pointing to the fact that Kedama is growing flowers for a reason, right? I think all of that is why Kedama wanted to help them in this episode. I don't think he would ever expose him for trying to get away, obviously because of Kedama's past. We all know what happened with that. But I feel like if it wasn't for these efforts by Mitsuki to talk to Kedama and to get to know him, you know, and even share, I mean, Mitsuki even shared some personal information with him about himself, right? If it wasn't for any of that, Kedama potentially wouldn't do anything. And who knows what would have happened to Sarada. Now, Sarada, as she was drowning, oh, well, she wasn't really drowning, but you get what I mean, a bit more, and she would have pretty much drowned there. She was like, okay, should I go down and try and find an exit? And then somebody pulls her leg. Now, it is possible that, you know, if Kedama didn't appear, she would find her way out, right? But I'm just saying, I like how these small details are all connected, you know. Kedama was developed in this arc. We got his backstory. He interacted with one of the main characters that influenced him, and now he was relevant in this episode. And again, this episode, I mean, we already had the plan that was set up in the last episode, so all this episode had to do, the entire purpose of it was just to get away from the prison, right? It was pretty much Prison Break. Now Boruto as a series, it's not a Prison Break type of series. This is just like a mini arc that we have right now, which is why it's so refreshing in the context of the Boruto series. So it's not like this Prison Break is the most complex Prison Break you ever saw, but you can clearly see that there's a lot of effort put into it. When I review these episodes, I don't compare them to the manga. When I mention the manga, I do it just because the reviews in general that I do on this channel, they're not 100% professional. I often mention things that aren't directly related to the review. Sometimes I even mention what's going on in my life, particularly at the start of the video, whatever. So so what I'm about to say right now doesn't influence the rating. I'm just saying it. When you compare this to the manga, it's just so much better. Okay, so much better because, I mean, first of all, the Mujina Bandits in general, they're not these like crazy deep villains, that are gonna have a crazy impact on the series, right? But like in the manga, if you guys read this, you probably remember, you just get a couple of these random bandits fighting against Team 7 or whatever, and that's kind of it. And then you see the leader later on, right? And again, in this arc, in the anime, in the expanded version of the arc, still they're not super complex or anything like that, but at least they're explored. Kokuri is technically an ex-member, right? We got his backstory, and we spent quite some time with him on screen, right? Tsukyo, him battling was foreshadowed for a few episodes right now, and clearly in the next episode he's gonna fight. The anime makes it clear that he's the second main guy in the Mujina Bandits arc, which foreshadows that there's a number one. You know what I mean? It's like subtle foreshadowing that we'll see the number one guy, like the leader, the best, right? Of course, he's not in the prison, and we didn't see him during these first 6 episodes. We're not gonna see him in the next one because in the next one, Tsuki is gonna fight against everyone. But it's like subtle foreshadowing, and the anime does this so well. Before I started reviewing this episode, before I pressed the record button, I was in a heated debate about this arc. From what I've seen, a lot of people had like crazy over the top expectations when it comes to the Mujina Bandits. It's like, again, they're not supposed to be deep or anything like that. I mean, in the manga, I've said this many times, but each and every review that I do has new viewers. So, I'm saying it for those people. Whether you read the manga or not, you probably don't remember this, but I feel like it was like chapter 13 or something like that. Doesn't really matter. The Hozuki Castle was just mentioned in the manga. Here we're getting it. Literally, we're getting it. This was the 6th episode. There's going to be one more next week, which is the fight. I mean, they pretty much got out of the prison in this episode, but like, you get what I mean. This is world building. This is lore. Not only did we get an entirely new location, geographically speaking, that wasn't explored in the Boruto series, we also got to know about the mechanics of the prison. We got to know more about what's his name, Benga, and in this episode it was established that people like him who were supposed to guard the prison or whatever, did they have this like summoning jutsu. I think the original, not like owner of the prison, but you know who I'm talking about, like the main guy who got sick. What's his name? Mujo? Yeah, I think it's Mujo. Whatever. It was mentioned that, his clan or whatever, or people who are supposed to be in his position, they have this like sealing jutsu or whatever that they use. And we saw it in this episode that Benga is capable of unsealing, of undoing the jutsu. Things like this which explain how things work in the in the Hozuki Castle. Fantastic world building, and again, we had 6 episodes so far. The next week is going to be the 7th one. That's so little. That's only a few episodes. I mean, this anime is going to have hundreds of episodes. This is just a mini adventure, a unique one in the context of the Boruto series, because, I mean, prison setting, Boruto, we never got anything like that. I mean, Boruto had fights against gods. It had fights against insignificant bandits, gangs, or whatever. It had a lot of slice of life. It had the Chunin exams. You had some missions here and there. The life of Boruto and his friends before they even became genins, and all of that was fantastic. But then you have like prison. It's a mission by Naruto, right? An important one though. but like it's prison, it's new, and overall, I feel like, it's not that this arc is so fantastic, because like I praise it a lot and I think it's great. It's not like one of the best arcs of Boruto, I'd say. But the thing is, this arc started in episode 141, I believe. By this point, we spent so much time with these characters, with this story overall, and like, I mean, that's how it is with me, of course. And even though I try to be objective in my reviews, there's no such thing as 100% objective reviews. So, like, subjectively, I care about these characters. So, them being on this small adventure in this prison, I like it. I like it. The reason, like, this is not slice of life, by the way, but I'm just saying in general, because like the Boruto anime does have slice of life. I like slice of life. It's in my eyes, it's a good way of me caring about these characters. I just like slice of life. I mean, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 4. A lot of people give it shit because it has slice of life elements. I love it. It's like I've completed 6 parts so far. It's my second favorite part out of the 6 that I completed. So like it clicks with me. I understand that slice of life isn't for everybody, but in case it is for you and you actually care about these characters, I'm sure you'll understand what I'm trying to say. Again, not the greatest arc of Boruto, but a new adventure with the characters that we care about. At least I care about them, and I appreciate this episode for that. This arc, excuse me. Now, going back to this episode, I do have one issue with this episode. So the first action scene with Boruto and Mitsuki, I guess, fighting against that summoning, two-headed beast, whatever it is. I don't know if the name was mentioned. Doesn't really matter, but that was okay. But then the second time they saw the beast, it was kind of repetitive, almost the same. Like, Mitsuki doing lightning style, like expanding his arms or whatever. I thought that was a little bit lazy. I mean, again, the actual fight wasn't the point of this episode. It was just to escape from the prison. That was the purpose, and the purpose was fulfilled. And the episode was supposed to end on a fantastic cliffhanger, which it did. But that kind of felt lazy to me, and that's the only reason why I'm going to take away 1 point from this episode, and the rating is going to be 9 out of 10. In normal circumstances, I would probably take like 0.5, not 1, but it really struck me negatively because everything was just great about the episode and overall this arc. And so I thought it was lazy, obviously, but it just didn't fit well. I was like, they could have just had them do some other moves or whatever. Now, originally I was gonna complain about Boruto not all out, but like not trying to do more. But then I thought to myself, okay, yeah, they're escaping, but you never know if he can't know if he's gonna be forced to fight when he leaves, so he has to save some chakra. I mean, and plus he's keeping one shadow clone in the cell. Well, the shadow clone was quickly destroyed, whatever. It was revealed that Boruto escaped, so scratch that. But what I'm trying to say is Boruto was never going to go all out there and waste a lot of chakra, because again, he might be forced to fight when he leaves, and boom, they're about to fight Tsukio. That's going to require some chakra. That said, it still felt kind of weird that he didn't try a little bit more, and I'm mainly referring to the second confrontation with the beast, because the first one was solved nicely with Mitsuki's lightning style, whatever, but it was kind of repetitive the second time. I'm not complaining about animation, choreography, anything like that. You guys know that when I review these episodes, I don't take animation into account. That's just the way I do these reviews. It's my subjective way of doing anime reviews for Boruto. But overall, I thought that was lazy. So that's why this episode gets a 9 out of 10. But overall, I liked the episode because it fulfilled its purpose. It was clever, connecting the dots that were previously explored in the arc. I mean, I explained that throughout this review, so I'm not going to repeat myself. Also, I mean, a huge moment at the end with Tsukio being revealed, and pretty much I don't want to say killing Benga, because we don't know if he actually died from that, but like he did some crazy lightning jutsu or whatever, and like Benga was out immediately, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people are happy about that, because Benga is a prick, man. I don't think I need to explain why, but yeah, that ability was so cool. And again, I said this, Tsukio was Tsukio fighting was foreshadowed. I mean, that was foreshadowed earlier. Excuse me, throughout this arc, and I like how, you know, they gave him this interesting personality where he constantly talks about luck, stuff like that. So I feel like that's interesting. Again, I know that he's not going to be a relevant villain in the grand scheme of things. So at least they're trying to make him a little bit interesting by giving him that interesting personality. Not even personality, but that interesting quirk, like him talking about luck all the time or whatever. I think that, it shows that the writers put effort into this. You can't make Madara and Pain out of the Mujina Bandits when expanding the arc, because clearly in the manga they're not a super big threat. They're not complex characters, but at least try to do something, try to expand it, and that's what the authors did. And not only when it comes to Tsukio and overall the context, of the Mujina Bandits, at the start it was explained how impactful they are, actually in a negative way, in the Land of Fire. Kokuri, his backstory, and I liked how that was connected to Kamata's little sister, the hospital. Like, all of this shows effort, and that's why. And I think that's why the second action scene pissed me off that much, because it came across as lazy. But yet everything else is just like it's done so well. But again, I mean, I understand it. The next episode, I mean, probably, like, in terms of budget, like, probably a lot of money is gonna go into the next episode, into the final fight of the Hozuki Castle portion of this arc, because I mean, there's a few more episodes after the Hozuki Castle, obviously. Like, I understand it, but I mean, that doesn't mean that I'm just gonna ignore it and give this episode a 10 out of 10. No, this episode gets a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 is a fantastic rating still. Do I have anything else to add? I mean, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I enjoyed Sarada in this episode, especially at the end where with the Shanara, when all that water was released. Overall, this arc is great, in my opinion. So far, I really enjoyed this episode. That was your boy Hokage. Let me know how you felt about this episode in the comment section of this video, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.